Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is, we're here. Thank you again for joining us on Break Free for Your Monkey Mind podcast. This is Series 3, Episode 6, and today I'm joined by the lovely Aideen Schweb, who I'll actually let her explain what she does. It may be a bit easier than me try to do it. You'll find in a moment why. Okay, so Aideen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Irish. I almost said I'm originally Irish. I am Irish through and through. I'm currently living in Brazil. I started a bit of a love affair with Brazil about 5 years ago, and I kept coming back every year for a few weeks. And during the pandemic, I came here to stay longer term. So I'm still kind of based out of Ireland, but I'm living in Brazil, which is why you see all the sunshine behind me.
Well, I think you still get some sunshine in Ireland, so it's not always wet.
Yes, at the moment, yeah. At the moment, it's sunny there, all right. Yeah, I guess, who am I personally? I'm a yogi, a surfer. I am a rower as well. I love the outdoors. I love life, staying fit, healthy, looking after myself and helping other people to do the same thing. So that's kind of part of the attraction of this small town in Brazil. Was the outdoor lifestyle and the access to beaches and surfing and all those kind of things.
That's brilliant. Just quickly before we get into things, you said you lived for started about 5 years ago, but from Ireland to Brazil and South America, what was it that attracted you there in the first place?
I always felt that I wanted to experience South America. I can't explain why. I loved Latin music. I loved learning salsa dancing. And I always thought, God, I'd love to just go and experience South America. And life gets in the way and takes you on all sorts of different pathways. And eventually I got to a stage where I thought, okay, I'm going to focus for the next 2 years on saving a little bit of money, and then I'm going to go traveling. And I did that. It must be about 5 years ago, I'd say. I came to South America for the first time alone, female on her own. Lots of people thought I was absolutely crazy. And best case scenario, you're going to get mugged or something. And yeah, I spent 10 weeks traveling around South America, but I fell in love with Brazil, and particularly this state is called Bahia. It's very different culturally. So I just kept coming back then after that trip, always back to this town and one or two other places I would visit nearby as well.
That's great. And I think it's something that this channel started off about, was letting people believe there's always hope, that whatever you've got issues with, to go on a journey, like I've been on a journey since up to now, to help me, and it's trying to find what's good for you. And that's basically what you did. So you've went on a journey as well, and it's inspiring for people to hear. I know you said like a woman like going alone, but I don't think it should matter whether you're male or female doing it. It's the fact that if you get the drive and you plan it properly as well, you have to make sure you're safe. I'm going to make sure of that. Yeah. But it's an amazing thing to go and just find yourself. And that's what you've really done, is find you in that place, maybe the other side of the world from where you came from. But when you look at it and the way you speak about it, it's perfect for you. It's like being in a utopia.
It is, yeah, it is. And it has been, and I call it my paradise here. It's very yin and yang. There's a very strong energy here, and that has to be what kept pulling me back all of the time. Everybody describes it as intense. Anybody that is kind of tuned into energy always finds this place really intense. And that can be really intense, like euphoria. It can be an amazing place. And if you're going through, as we do in life, we're never on the same wave, right? Sometimes we've got to grow, and that can be painful. And when you're in that zone, that can be really intense as well. So you can have the yin can be really intense, but so can the yang be really intense. So yes, it is my paradise over here. But that's not to say that every single day is a party. There has been really tough times as well. But at the same time, it was stuff that I needed to go through to grow. There a lot of, the stuff that comes up from really deep down, and that comes out to be healed. So there was that side of it as well. But it is paradise.
But that's a great one you've said there, because growth can be difficult. Some people say it's change. People look at change can be something that's negative, but you think of the benefits it can be as well. Absolutely. That's what people always realize, is by changing how much you get out of it. And that's what this is all about now, and why we're here today to talk, because it's people whose lives changed because a situation outside their control. And it's led them to having, what we mentioned before we come on, whether it's classed as an illness, whether it's a condition, whatever it is we want to call this. What is the most important thing is that someone who's got this thing, it can be psychological and it can be physiological together. And that's what people don't always realise about illness.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to get you on today, because I think what you do is amazing. And I've only just been finding myself out about this recently. And it's called lymphedema. But rather than me trying to get into that, I thought, why don't you explain to people what is lymphedema?
Sure. Okay. So lymphedema is a condition of the lymphatic system. I'll reverse back a little bit and explain that everywhere that we have blood vessels in the body, we also have lymphatic vessels running alongside them. Mm-hmm. We don't seem to learn a lot about the lymphatic system. However, it's super important because it's responsible for removing all of the waste from our body. It's our waste management system. And it's also the engine of our immune system. So in the lymph nodes is where the body will identify, okay, hang on, there's something here, a bacteria, a virus. We don't like this. It shouldn't be here. We need to now signal the body to create the correct cells to fight this off. So it's a vital part of our existence. When we have an issue with the lymphatic system, the fluid that flows through those vessels can kind of get backed up or clogged up in one particular drainage area in the body. The body would be divided, or the lymphatic system divided into different drainage areas. It could be just that one area is impacted and you might get a lot of swelling in that area. And lymphedema essentially means lymph, which is the lymphatic fluid, and edema, which means swelling. So it's that swelling that occurs because the lymphatic system is not functioning as it should.
Right.
In a nutshell.
No, that's a great explanation if people understand that. But one thing for the people concerned, is it curable?
Essentially, it's not. So there's two types of lymphatic issues. Now, you might have a sluggish lymphatic system, which isn't necessarily broken or damaged. There's not something that needs to be repaired in that case, but that you might need to give it a bit of help in order to get back to fully functioning. But in the case of lymphedema, you can have primary lymphedema or secondary lymphedema, and that will be where there is some malfunction in the body. Some part of the lymphatic system never formed properly, and it might be triggered off later in life, usually with hormonal changes, pregnancy, or it could be an illness and the like. Secondary lymphedema then is where we've actually had an intervention in the body. So the most common example that I can give is of somebody going through cancer treatment. And as part of that cancer treatment, lymph nodes will be removed from the body, or they might be radiated, or both. And that means you now have a damaged drainage area. That lymphatic system is damaged now. You can't, there are some surgeries that are happening in different parts of the world that will connect vessels back into the bloodstream or try and bypass areas that are damaged. But essentially, this is not something that you can cure. And access to those kind of surgeries is still very in the early stages of that side of medicine. So it's not available to everyone, basically. But it's not going to repair itself. And if you've had those lymph nodes taken out of your body or damaged by radiation, that's it. It's damaged now. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is learn what that means and how you can have a positive impact on that so that you can avoid issues or mitigate issues going forward.
So can someone have lymphedema before they actually have the symptoms? So before they realize themselves that they've got it?
Yeah. So essentially, we would be talking about the signs of lymphedema would be the swelling would be one of the signs. But before that, I always say to people, it's your body and you will know before anybody else can measure it if there's something not quite right. A lot of people will say that it just feels strange. Maybe after breast cancer, the arm feels heavy, it feels tight, there's tingling, something doesn't feel right, but there's no signs of swelling at that stage yet. But if you already know, I had X amount of lymph nodes removed from under my arm, you already know you have a damaged lymphatic system. So you're not imagining these things. A lot of people will say to me, I just felt like, the doctor's going to maybe laugh at me or is not going to take this seriously. They're going to think I'm mad because you can't see anything. And all I can tell them is it just feels like something is wrong. But if you already know the lymphatic system was damaged, then That's it. That's your starting point. You have a damaged lymphatic system. Now what do you do about it?
It's a good point, because people, I said at the beginning, this can actually, though it's a physiological issue, it can actually be a psychological issue as well.
Yeah.
So the reason you just mentioned is because if there's no immediate swelling after, say, the cancer, for example, and they don't immediate swelling, but they know that something doesn't feel right, they know maybe their leg doesn't feel, their arm, whatever, it doesn't feel right, that can bring them down as well, because they start worrying about that. That causes a lot of stress on them.
Yeah.
And that can lead to overwhelm and ultimately burnout if they don't get something done about it. So if someone's in that situation, is it worth them going to their GP and saying, look, I've just had cancer treatment, it was the nodes have been taken out, I've got this unusual sensation, do you know what's wrong? Would they be able to, would the GP understand?
It depends. We still have, I mean, I started my journey into this world about, it must be about 20 years ago now, when my mom developed lymphedema after her cancer treatment. And she was basically told, you should be happy we got rid of your cancer. You should be grateful. Now go away. And she had to find out by research on the internet what's happening in her body and why and who can help her with that. And I'm sorry to say that in those 20 years, it seems like not much has changed, because the amount of people that would have just found me by random and come into my clinic, and they'll tell me the same kind of story. You know, nobody told me about this. I asked the doctor, or they will acknowledge that lymphedema is a risk, but they'll be told, you know, come back when you have the swelling, or it's not that bad, or it's not bad enough, which I really don't agree with that at all. I think that's, you know, why would you wait until you have something that you're going to have to battle and try and bring backwards when you can get ahead of it and hopefully avoid those issues? So I don't know. It would be, I certainly wouldn't say don't go and speak to your GP about it, but if your GP knows nothing about it, or fobs you off, or tries to give you diuretics or whatever it might be, then don't take that as your final no. Go and find somebody like myself, who is an expert in the lymphatic system, in what happens in the lymphatic system after cancer treatment, in treating lymphedema, and speak to them as well. Or even go to the lymphatic expert first to have a consultation and understand a little bit better, maybe before you go to your GP. Maybe there's other things that you need to rule out with the GP as well. But we are still to this day in a place where a lot of GPs will not know much about it, or will tell patients, like my mom's surgeon said, like, sure, look, it'll be fine, or what are you worried about? Just leave it alone, don't go messing with it, which is unacceptable in this day and age. And it's not necessary. It's unnecessary. That's the main thing, really.
And remember as well, I know I keep saying this all here, but I don't blame GPs for it, because I had some situation, they didn't know what was wrong with me. And so I just get prepped to go. Every time I had an issue, they go, oh, can we send it to hospital just in case? And I'd send to hospitals all the time, who would turn around and say, can we just give you painkillers as well, because they're struggling to deal with my situation? And it was always like, well, I've got morphine, so what are you going to give me stronger to take home?
Yeah.
No, you need to come in then. So sample. But it was because the GP didn't know. And that's what they told me. They'd look at my people and see that. And that's what I really related when you were talking about this, is like how difficult it was for me mentally, because I didn't know what procedure I could do or how I could get help. I was taking what the GP was telling me. And that's basically what you're saying here, is that if what I say to people is now, I want you to get enough information before you go to your GP. So when they sit and listen to you and they go to write that wee script out to give you something, go, stop. What's my other options first before the medication?
Yeah.
Or can I take the medication? Is there something I should be doing along with it to help me? So that's basically you're saying is a good idea, is to go and see with somebody like you, first of all, to get an education of what actually this is about, so that to put your GP in a bit of, educate them in some ways as well, because they might have heard of it, not necessarily know. They can't know every single illness or everything.
Exactly.
They are a GP, a general practitioner, not specialist.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not their fault. So that's a really good point. But one of the things that somebody mentioned to me about was talking about massaging things to get drainage or something. What is it meant by drainage for lymph?
Drainage. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes people conjure up images in their mind of machinery that's actually going to drain your body.
Yeah.
It's not like that. So your body, your lymphatic system, I mentioned before, is like the the waste management system in your body. It's your drainage system. Your body's already doing this, and removing all of the waste and draining fluid, channeling it through all of the lymphatic vessels towards the lymph nodes, dumping it back into the bloodstream, yada, yada, yada. So it already happens in the body. It only becomes an issue when there's an issue, when there's something not working properly. And the manual lymphatic drainage, I trained in the Vodder method in Austria. It's essentially a hands-on technique. So a lot of people still refer to it as a massage, but I'll come back to that in a second. What we do is we manipulate the skin. It's different from massage in that massage goes into muscle. We want to get it into muscle. Manual lymphatic drainage is working on skin level in order to manipulate the lymphatic vessels specifically. We're not looking at muscle, we're looking at the lymphatic vessels. And we want to open and close the valves in those lymphatic vessels using different techniques with our hands. And that's essentially what the drainage part is. So it's a hands-on technique. It's very, very gentle, but it gets the fluid moving through the lymphatic system when potentially it's been sluggish, it's not working properly, or if there's a damaged drainage area, we actually need to bring it to another drainage area, and the body won't do that by itself. So it's actually very gentle, very rhythmic, very repetitive, super relaxing for that reason. So you have the benefit of calming your nervous system and at the same time dealing with the fluid that you need to maybe move to another area, or teaching your body how to bring fluid out of the drainage area, the damaged drainage area, so that you can potentially avoid the swelling if you're pre that stage.
And is that the only thing that they can get to help, or is there other things that can be done that can help them? Because you said that one's hands-on?
Yes, that's hands-on, and you can also learn how to do simple lymphatic drainage for yourself, which is what I teach people. So I would have always taught people in my clinic to do this stuff at home as well in between sessions. And then we had the pandemic and a lot of clinics closed and a lot of patients were without any of their treatment, and their swelling increased, their garments no longer fit them, their compression garments, all sorts of chaos. So I began teaching all of this stuff online through Zoom sessions, through consultations, tutorials, and I built an online course as well for self-study. You can learn how to do this yourself. And I'm not saying that you will be replacing the work that the therapist will do, but you will be doing work that gets the lymphatic system flowing, which is what you need. So if you cannot get to a therapist, you should learn this stuff. If you're seeing a therapist already, if you do this stuff every day, just for a couple of minutes, it's not too hectic, a couple of minutes every day in between sessions with your therapist, you will actually enhance what your therapist is doing. And yeah, it's essential. I think everybody should learn this, but I teach it online because then it allows people to have the knowledge, first of all. Knowledge is power, and the understanding of what's happening and what you can do about it. And when you perform this self-lymphatic drainage, we call it, for a couple of minutes every day, you move the fluid wherever you need to channel it. You physically move it. So yes, everybody can learn this and should, I think. Whether you're seeing a therapist or not, hopefully you are. We also use compression to help with this. If there's a lot of swelling, we would use compression wraps, compression bandages, compression stockings, compression sleeves. There's other things that you can do as well. It's very important to stay hydrated, for example. There's certain foods that you should have less of. I'm not going to say cut out altogether because that can be more difficult, more challenging. But there are, what you put into your body as well can have an impact on the swelling. Stress will increase the swelling. The amount of clients that have come back to me after a weekend, for example, and said, I wasn't drinking water over the weekend, and you know what, I was running around because we had this situation in the family or whatever, and they were stressed, and boom, the leg swells up. So stress has a massive impact as well. So you can be learning how to manage your stress levels as well. Deep breathing techniques, all of the stuff that can impact the drainage within your lymphatic system, but also to help you relax, to stay calm, to feed your body the way and stay hydrated, and all of those things that are going to help. Exercise, super important for the lymphatic system as well. So yeah, there's tons that people can be doing by themselves.
All right. Well, that actually leads on to the next question perfectly, because there's all these other things they can do. So what other services do you offer that could also help them or other people?
Sure. So I am actually a yoga instructor. I've been teaching yoga for the last 15 years. I have been facilitating meditation groups, I'm going to say, for even longer than that. I'm also a massage therapist in various different types of massage, manual lymphatic drainage therapist, and a personal trainer. So I try to combine everything that I do, all of my skills, so that every aspect is covered. So for example, somebody might come to me for an online consultation because they have swelling in their feet and ankles. It's starting to travel up the legs. They don't know what to do about it. They can't seem to get the right solution from their GP. But this particular client then went away with some of my YouTube videos on deep breathing, on meditation, some very gentle yoga to do, very gentle exercises to get the muscles contracting and relaxing, as well as he also learned the technique to do the simple lymphatic drainage for himself. And overnight, literally overnight, his symptoms improved so much that he was able to then hop onto his exercise bike, do things around the house that the previous day, the swelling was so bad and so uncomfortable he couldn't do. So yeah, I offer everything, you know, individually. Maybe somebody wants to come to me for training online, or sometimes it all comes together in the one package, and you can learn the basics about everything, all of those different aspects that are going to help you going forward. But they're all the services that I offer as one package or separately.
And you mentioned earlier about having courses online that people can use. Is that to do with all your services, or is that just the lymphedema one?
So the online courses that I created for the self-management of primary lymphedema and secondary lymphedema, they have a little bit of everything in there. Everything that I've touched on there, information about food, hydration, kinesiotaping as well, actually, tutorial on that, the self-lymphatic drainage for each drainage area in the body, depending on what area you have damaged. There's exercise video in there, there's a yoga video in there, a meditation to help you manage your stress, and probably some other things that I've forgotten as well, but that's all in there. I also created a meetup group. I don't know if you've heard of the meetup empire before. Yeah. So I've had a yoga group for some time. I set up a group specifically called Life After Cancer, Support, Techniques and Tips. And I want to reach as many people as possible in that group setting as well, to run a series of online workshops. I've done some yoga for lymphedema workshops already, but this will be everything that the group needs. And the intention, I have a big vision for this, but baby steps. The intention would be to even have kind of side groups where people can exchange ideas about what types of garments are working for them. We maybe have an online group training session once a week together, or an accountability group where everybody can kind of check in with each other. How are you getting on this week? Did you eat better this week? Did you stay hydrated? Whatever it might be. All of this is in the pipeline, but the group has been set up and so far has 15 members in the last 48 hours. So the workshops will be starting on the 27th of this month. I'll have the first workshop, which will be an hour long, and will explain how the lymphatic system works and what happens when there's damage to it. So the first chunk of information to help people understand what's happening in their bodies.
So one of the questions is going to be, where can they get in touch with you? So where do they find out about all this information?
So I have a website which is really easy to find. It's www.mld.ie, which stands for manual lymphatic drainage.ie. Also then, well, the links to my social media and my YouTube channel are all on the website there. I have a Facebook page, Instagram, both called Beautiful Life Manual Lymphatic Drainage or Beautiful Life MLD. But probably through the website is the easiest way. Then you'll find in the contacts page the links to all of the different social medias, the YouTube page as well, and I will pop up the meetup page as well.
Okay, and your course, where did they get the courses?
The course is on the website as well for secondary lymphedema. Right. All of the information about what the course involves has its own page on the website, and anybody suffering with primary lymphedema, just read all of that information, because the course will be really similar, contacting me for the link for that one. The link on the website is for the secondary lymphedema, but all the information about the course is on there as well.
That's brilliant. Okay, so I always finish up with one question from people. Is there's so much information there for people to take.
Yeah.
What's the one takeaway that you would give to anybody who's listening in about this today?
So from listening to my clients over the years, I would like everybody who is maybe not sure what's happening in their body, and this resonates with them, to know that they're not the only one going through this, and that there is somebody out there that can help them. And I'm available online at any time. Book in for a consultation, send me a message to ask some questions, whatever it might be, I'm here. And I have the relevant information and expertise and experience to share with everybody. Plus more, in fact, because a lot of it, as you said earlier on, a lot can be the mental side of it as well. Yeah. The frustration, the fear, is my cancer coming back? Sometimes people feel like, oh my God, maybe the cancer is coming back. There's a lot of fear when there's a lack of information, a lack of knowledge about it. So don't wait, get yourself informed. Even if you're pre-surgery, learn about this stuff, understand what's going to happen, and you will take away a lot of the stress from yourself, for sure.
It's a good thing with that as well, is if you're getting information beforehand, you become educated on it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will get this after cancer. Not everybody that has cancer gets this, but what it is doing is preparing you in the eventuality, if it did happen, at least it's not such a big shock, because you know what to do, but you also have got the contacts there that you know, okay, now that I've got this, I know who I've got to go to. So that's a brilliant thing to do. So yeah, I think there's always one thing that's important in life, and that's to be proactive rather than reactive.
Yes.
If we're
100%.
proactive, whatever we do, it mitigates a lot of the issues for us, and a lot of the worry and stress will mitigate as well, because you've done that preparation beforehand. So when it does happen, you're not got, you said sometimes for people, they don't know what's going on. They will know. So it takes away that stress and that worry. They won't get to that overwhelm stage because they've got that.
Exactly. And something that's just come to mind there, actually, it's important to note that for those who have more lymph nodes removed than one, for example, have a higher risk of developing lymphedema afterwards, because there's more of the lymphatic system missing. But you may not necessarily experience the symptoms straight away. It could be 15 years down the line. It could be a bout of stress that triggers it off. Something that overloads your lymphatic system at a later date can start off the symptoms of lymphedema as well. So watch out for things that are happening. Even if you think, but my surgery was 5 years ago, it can't be related. It could be. It could be related. If you have the symptoms, it can be that the lymphedema has been triggered by something now when it wasn't triggered before.
So it's like a sort of trauma that the body's been through, because if you think of trauma in the mind, that doesn't necessarily happen right away. Post-traumatic stress, as people call it, PTSD, and they do a PTS, they can happen 5-10 years down the line after the incident's happened. You could be sitting, for example, a soldier I know said a car backfired, and it took him back to an issue when an IED went off. That IED went off 8.5 years earlier. Not then. But it only happened to him at that moment. But then it suddenly, a realization was, he knows exactly what was wrong then. Now that's something that the body must go through a similar thing, is that it can just take something that happens. It takes that body back to that situation.
Yeah, or the body can be kind of it's just about ticking over. It's just managing. And then something pushes it over the limit. I've seen a lot of people saying that their lymphedema got worse, or they didn't have problems before, and when they had COVID, when they were recovering from COVID, their swelling got a lot worse, or they started having swelling after. And the reason for that is that the immune system, the lymphatic system, is fighting to recover from COVID, to fight it off. And that's the straw that broke the camel's back. That's the thing that pushes the lymphatic system over the edge, and now it's not able to cope anymore. So that's why it can happen later. Stress can do it, hormonal changes, and the illness as well, because it overloads the lymphatic system that's already just about coping.
No, that's brilliant, and thank you for all of that. That's excellent. So if anybody is watching or listening in, what I would say is that if you've got any inclination of this, or you have got any cancer treatments or that coming up, and you think it maybe something you want to know more about, get in touch with Aidan to make sure. Just put your mind at rest. And we said prepare. And it's like the old saying, fail to prepare, you pray to fail. So
Yeah.
make sure you do it in advance, find out about these things that could happen, and then you've got the information to take to your GP or your consultant saying, this is what's happened after the operation, this is what it feels like, can you tell me what it is? And at least you'll know that they maybe understand better because you've got a better understanding of it. So it'll be easy to explain that. So that's brilliant. So thank you very much for that. And
thank you.
Thank you everybody for listening in today, and for the ones on YouTube. And this is the first one of the series we've put onto there. It's going to be going on each week now. It's about every Tuesday. So please join us next week again for the next episode. We've got a gentleman on from Dublin, fun of Irish connection again, who's coming on to talk about his sports side of it, how to use, somebody went through a lot in COVID, but how by bringing sport into it by running actually helped to alleviate mental health issues. So how to combine sport with mental health issues. So that should be a good one as well. So thank you very much for me. Thank you for Aidan as well for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. So thank you very much, everybody.